Hey everyone, welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to talk about the 4 phases of a web design project, and then I'll break down a little bit of how much these phases would cost in terms of time and money. Now, before we start, I want to make it known that there aren't necessarily just 4 phases of a web design project. I used 4 phases, and I categorized them within 4 phases. There could be 8 phases, there could be 10 phases, there could be 2 phases, there could be a single phase. It's kind of arbitrary, but this is how I categorize the phases of a web design project so that it can run smoothly and that you can execute the entire project on time and on budget. So let's move on. In order to complete a web design project on budget, on time, and in a seamless and professional manner, it's important to approach the entire project in 4 specific phases. The names of these phases may vary among designers, but I've found these are the exact 4 phases I use when I work on a professional project with my clients. So first is the discovery phase. The discovery phase includes initial phone calls, meetings, consultations, some research, planning, and scheduling, and to develop the site structure and the site map. The time and cost breakdown could look something like so. About 10 hours, $50 an hour would be a junior freelance web developer. And I would quote this roughly 10 hours, $500. In some cases, I actually just quoted a project, and the discovery phase was much longer because it's a brand new project, and the client, I could tell from the beginning, they really wanted to be involved in the planning, so I allocated 20 hours to this specific section. So about 10 hours, 20 hours is a good time cost breakdown. Then we move into the creative phase. So once the discovery phase and the planning and the site structure and your initial meetings and your scope, when you define your scope is done, you move into the creative phase. And this is where you focus on user experience design, wireframing, and web design mockups. So coming up with how is the website or project going to work? What's the best user experience that we can create? How should this website be laid out? Let's wireframe some of this stuff to find out how we should lay out the important elements of our website. And then finally, design the website in Photoshop or Sketch using some mockups. The time and cost breakdown, this is a pretty heavy phase. I would say roughly allocate 40 hours at $50 an hour. It's about $2,000. Now, I've worked on projects where this creative phase was 100 hours. In bigger agencies, they allocate a lot more time because there are a lot more people working on it. And in some cases, clients have really large budgets, so you can account for that and allocate more time. This is just these numbers. I've kind of come up with these from a junior freelance web designer, web developer's perspective, working with a small to medium-sized business, say like a dentist or a chiropractor or something like that, or perhaps you were subcontracted by an agency to help you build a website. That's kind of what I would allocate for this. Then you move into the development phase. This is where when you wrap up the creative phase, sign off on the designs, you move into the development phase where you convert those designs into HTML and CSS templates. And if it was just a static site, you would leave it at the HTML and CSS. But as we know, most sites now are not just static, they are dynamic using something like WordPress. And so additional web development, you would convert those static templates into a content management system using PHP, MySQL to make a WordPress site. And also something like browser testing your website on different browsers, on different mobile devices, like an iPhone or an Android device. And that would be the development phase. Time and cost breakdown for this, again, pretty heavy. 40 hours at $50 an hour, another couple grand. Again, this could be a lot longer, but from my perspective, giving you kind of a little bit of an idea of what it would be like for a junior freelancer with a smaller client, this is a pretty fair price. Launch phase. This is where you wrap up the development phase and you sign off. The client's checked out the site on your local computer, or maybe you have a staging link somewhere on your own website so that they can view it. And it's private, it's not public. And so the launch phase is where you'd review and you do some question and answer with the client, and you go through the site. Maybe there's some bugs, maybe there's some user cases or something that they don't understand or don't like, or something's not working. And that would be a review Q&A. Moving the local website to a live server. So instead of just on your computer or on your staging URL, you want to move that to the live server, their actual live domain. Client training. This is important, especially if you created a content management system website like WordPress. You need to be able to train the client on how to add, edit pages and posts, update their software, and make sure to add content, and so on and so forth. And then the final payment, arranging for the final payment. Now, usually what I do is I ask for 50% upfront before even starting the project. That holds both parties accountable. I have half of the money, meaning I have incentive to actually start working. I'm not hoping that they're going to pay me. And if for some reason they duck out, which sometimes has happened with some of my clients, and it will inevitably happen to you at some point, you have half their money, and they're less likely to duck out, but they haven't given you everything, so they're not out everything, and you at least got something for starting the work. And then at the end, I will take final payment, which is 50%. And I say I will take final payment upon completion of the final deliverable, like launching and training the client. Launching the website and training the client. Time and cost breakdown, about 10 hours. $50 an hour, about $500. This could be a lot larger if you have a big website and you need more training time. This could be 20 hours, could be 30 hours, but I find 10 hours is a pretty good number. So then it looks like this: discovery phase, creative phase, development phase, and the launch phase. Again, these can be broken down into different phases, but I like to look at them as these 4 phases. And this is how I actually quote my client. I'll say discovery phase. I'll give some subpoints, like wireframing, discussion, so on and so forth. Pretty much like this entire presentation that you just watched. It's pretty much how my estimates will look. Then creative phase, development phase, launch phase. Total time and cost estimate, about 100 hours, $50 an hour, $5,000. That's a pretty good cost estimate for, say, a fairly straightforward custom WordPress website. So yeah, those are the 4 phases of the web design project. And we're going to move on into the next lecture here. So I'll see you there.